Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And today we are back to talk about another episode of The Shy. This is going to be season 6, episode 14, titled Smoke and Mirrors. But before we get started, please make sure you subscribe to our channel, like the video, and click that notification bell so you get alerted every time we post. And thank you guys so much for your support so far. We continue to try to bring you guys fresh new content, and we appreciate all the love and support. So we got the house cleaning out the way. Let's go ahead and jump into this episode.
That's me.
Because, things are heating up in the Shy. It's getting hot. And it's definitely like Halloween time. So you kind of are getting a feel for like what time of year it is and whatnot. The kids have graduated. They're adults. I'm assuming that happens around like May, June time. They've gone through the summer and now here we are approaching fall time. Spooky season. So I'm like, what does that mean? Some bad stuff is about to happen? That's what I was thinking about this episode. And sure enough, it's some nonsense going on. But we gonna get to that. First off, they start with Jake approaching, Vic about having this Halloween party. Vic obviously has a lot going on in his life, so I was really surprised he agreed. But he has some nightmares about Duda and whatnot. So I was like, maybe you got too much on your mind. Maybe it's not the best thing to be inviting all of these youths into your home and they are all wearing all black instead of wearing costumes. I was like, I don't know if that's a great idea or not. But they go about anyway.
I kind of thought it was a good idea. I mean, because as we saw, he was having a pretty rough time with his dreams and sitting on the edge of the bed, holding his head. So I think Jake, that's a game ball move for Jake, to snap him out of that situation, because not that I've ever been there before, but I can imagine it must be pretty heavy on his mind as to what he was contemplating might happen to him. So, yeah, I thought Jake did that was a good move.
He needed a distraction. He needed some kind of distraction, and he couldn't go anywhere because he was on house arrest. Exactly. So, what else was he gonna do?
Yeah. So, I do appreciate that Jake does try to look out for his brother, and try to be thoughtful and, just try to cheer him up and whatnot. So that goes on, and Papa comes in there talking about his Hallelujah night plans. So Papa is no longer interested in Halloween, and he's actually even kind of ticked off that the pastor's wife was up in there. So I was like, uh-oh. I wonder if Papa was going to bring this up to Zeke, which we know that he eventually did do. I wasn't sure if Papa overstepped his boundary in the way that he questioned Zeke, though. Did y'all have any thoughts on that?
I did. I thought so. I mean, he may have thought he's being helpful, but you gotta tread lightly when you're talking about married folks and stuff. And I feel like Pastor Zeke knows what time it is because he shut Papa down, and then later on when Zeke, I know I'm jumping ahead of you, but I'm just saying when Jake was trying to get the first lady to come back over, she was giving him all types of excuses and stuff. So it made me wonder if Pastor Zeke was in the background, like he kind of shut her down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing.
I did too. Papa, but I really didn't like the fact that he comes into the Halloween party with a brand new bag. Papa got a brand new bag, so he's going in and pretend like now this is all the devil's work when he probably was doing it last Halloween season. If you felt that way, you shouldn't have shown up at all. You really didn't have to show up. And like you said, I think Zeke had an idea about his wife and what she was capable of, but I think after Papa put that little, bug in his ear, he probably went back and said, "Woman, Let me tell you something. Because she kind of shut Zeke down quick, fast, in a hurry. So
yeah, she did. That's what I said. I was like, oh, pass it and put, he didn't threw down the gauntlet and let her know what time it is.
or through a
Don't
sheet.
have me out here looking crazy.
Exactly. Well, that's interesting. It's interesting to see what will happen from that because I for sure thought that he knew every move she was making.
I also think it's interesting that Papa decided to accept some of those funds, the donation money that was supposed to be going toward this new youth facility. When Zeke was like, we got to get paid too. So I was like, well, I mean, the donations are for the facility, not for y'all's paycheck.
Well, I think that Papa was concerned about that, though.
He
You can see,
was,
because
but
he was like, I thought this was going towards, whereas Pastor Zeke, he's
he was
lining his
easily
pockets.
swayed, though. I was like, he ain't have no problem just accepting Zeke's answer for it. So I was like, that was a very easy persuasion.
That's the fall of Ushers. I mean, the moment that he decided, I'm going to take this money anyway, in spite of what he thought, because he did, like you said, Tiffany, it seemed like he thought that this was not a good move, but he took it anyway. And you know what? It's all downhill from now. I mean, from here. So I can expect almost anything from Papa now because he's been initiated.
Listen, on social media, one of our spotters, shout out to you, sent us a clip of Papa, from the early season when he was young, and he in the clip he was telling Kevin and Jake that when he grew up, he was going to have a mega church and he's going to have all this money and this, that, and the other. So he was prophesying in that clip. And I was like, oh my goodness, he's on that path now.
Yep. Yeah. So I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Papa's going to continue down this prosperity preaching route, despite his mom's, disapproval. But that's where it looks like it's heading to me. Now, on the other side, the families are out trick-or-treating and whatnot. And just as Kesha and Emmett are getting ready to take the kids out, here comes Nut to go and tag along because he wants to participate in his newfound, fatherhood and be there in Ronnie's life and whatnot. And there's nothing wrong with that, except, it would have been nice if he gave somebody a heads up, like, hey, I'm going to tag along or something, just showing up at the door.
It's called visitation.
Well, let me ask you guys as ladies, and now, Tiara, you joined the illustrious group of having a child of your own. So what do you think is Kesha's responsibility there? And I say that to say, might she have told Nut what they were doing and inviting him? Because after all, it is his child.
Yeah, but you set boundaries. No, go ahead.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say boundaries are needed.
Yeah, but
when you have...
She would set I guess what I'm asking, should she have set those boundaries with Nut to say, hey, look, we're going, trick-or-treating. You're welcome to come, but.
Yeah, she could have. I think when you have a child, speaking as a divorcee, you had to do visitation and all this stuff. It was planned. It was planned. Things are gonna happen. You can't just, neither one of us could just show up at each other's home and stuff. We had to talk about it. We had to give notice and things like that. It was laid out. So when you have a child, especially, people have other relationships. She's in a relationship. There's other children and stuff. There's supposed to be boundaries and guidelines and schedules. And like, okay, this is what's happening. You can come. We can do this and do that. Him showing up at the door is disruptive. Now, I applaud him for wanting to be a part of his child's life. So I respect that. And I appreciate that he wants to do that. It's just a way to do it. There's a conversation, it's guidelines, it's visitation, it's all of that.
See, this is why people like to spot real talk, because we do give real talk in this matter. So this is real talk.
Yeah. Look.
Well, hold on. Let's keep going down that real talk path, because now I got a question for you, Ron. How do you feel about Emmett checking Nut for spoiling Ronnie. He was kind of checking his parenting skills and how he's trying to, create a spoiled, entitled child.
Excellent question, and I'm glad you asked because I did
Me
have.
too.
I mean, I had some some thought about it. One thing, I felt that he was right to step to Nook and say, "Okay, look, this is what has to happen if we're going to do this thing." I thought he could have been a little more cordial about it in a sense. I don't mean punking out, but I mean, I think, these are two men. You have to be kind of careful as you bring about that thing, but he did tell him in such a way that it could have invoked some hardship. But I have to give credit to Nook for understanding what Emmett was saying, because once Emmett spoke his piece, you saw the look on Nook's face as a matter of, hey, I guess I got to give in to this. So yeah, I appreciated Emmett for stepping up, because if you don't, like you said, Tiff, where are the boundaries? Because Kesha didn't set any boundaries. So, Emmett had to step in and set that man boundary and say, okay, this is what we're going to do with this family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was like, I agree with what Emmett did, and like you said, it's not what you say, but how you say it.
Absolutely.
And I think that Emmett was firm but respectful at the same time.
I agree with you guys, and I thought that was an interesting conversation because I was going to ask y'all the question about the spoiled conversation about that, because I could see both sides. Like, I felt like Emmett was right and to say what he said, about not, setting boundaries for the children and not letting them have their way. But I felt what Nook said about, white folks and kids and what they do for their children and how they set them up, because there was a similar argument, and hopefully Candy sees this, who plays Roz, because I remember when she used to be on the Housewives of Atlanta, and there was an exchange between she and her husband because they have different parenting styles. Like, she set her daughter up for success and, was helping her, with get her place and this, that, and the other. Whereas her husband, came from New York, and he's like, I came from the school of hard knocks. I feel like you don't give your child everything. They have to work for it. And that's how he was, wanting to parent his daughter and stuff. And, and Candy and several other people, it was a debate in the comments too about, hey, like, why we as Black parents, why do we have to make our children go through the hard knocks and stuff? Like, I get it, you want to get them to be responsible and stuff, but why do they have to go through the hard knocks if you're in a position to set them up? That's what white families do. They do set their kids up for success. So why do we gotta make our children go through the hard knocks? So when Nook said that about what people spelling, it made me think about that argument between
yeah, it is a delicate balance though, because you can still spoil them, but you still have to teach them not to be entitled. So
then look at what we've seen, and I don't mean to impose this on all white families, because I know no one can speak for all, but some that I've seen with kids, I mean, they're in a store and the kids, they literally are running the parents, and it's because they don't believe in certain types of discipline. Where when we grew up, there were things that you couldn't do, and the consequences were deadly if you did it. So, and I'm glad I grew up in that kind of era, because it made me the man that I am. But like you said, as we get more in life, and as we do, as we as Black families begin to have more and prosper more, well, we do want to give our children more, but just like you said, Tiara, there has to be some boundaries, and you have to set them early, because I mean, kids look, kids are born evil. You got to train them not to be evil.
Well, yeah, I think that it's a lot going on with that situation. I really want to see them communicate more and get some kind of routine established. And definitely, like the word boundaries, we keep saying that because it's needed, and especially when I seen how Nook and Kesha had their own little conversation, and you could tell, Kesha was saying, "I'm glad that you are his father, because it's somebody I know, you're familiar." But also at the same time, I'm not in love with you no more. And Nook looked really disappointed when she said that. And I was like, he's one that you definitely got to set a hard line in the sand for, because he looks like a habitual line stepper.
Okay, I was trying to figure out where Kesha was going, because it wasn't until she said I'm not in love with you like that I said okay. But the conversation I was a little worried about. I mean, the two of them
I think she was just relieved that her child is not, born out of this situation that was so like horrific for her, and it's very traumatizing. It's like, okay, now I can truly put that beside me. Like, not only was I kidnapped and raped and held hostage and whatnot, but also I killed this man. Like, one day I would have to have been responsible for telling my son that I killed his birth father. Like, that would have been a huge weight on her. And so the fact that Ronnie is not that man's child, it releases her of that burden. And now she can truly try to put that situation all the way behind her and say, like, okay, Ronnie's father is somebody who I once loved and who I, am familiar with. I might not be in love with him now, but at least it's somebody who, I can view in a positive light.
Just consider.
I agree. Go ahead, Ron.
No, I just want to answer. Just consider the source. Who Nook really is, and I guess that's where I was headed. Go ahead, Ted.
I think Kesha knows well who he really is.
Okay.
Well, but I think she just relieved it's a step up from a rapist.
Well, I agree with everything you said about her being relieved about Nook being the father. Mm-hmm. I was worried, Ron, I thought you was great saying that, because when she said, "I'm not in love with you like that anymore," her body language when she put her head down and stuff, it did not look convincing to me.
Thank you.
It did not. When she said it, I was like,
yeah,
I hear the words, right, but her body language when she put her head down, I was like, oh,
yeah, that's it.
It didn't seem resolute to me. So I was like, we're gonna have to watch this.
Yes.
I said Nook is a habitual line stepper. If you give him an inch, he gonna take the mile. And that's why I was like, I guess both of them need to watch it now. Then.
No, yeah. That's what I was bringing up, because it just seemed to me, that
me too.
Like you said, she gave him that inch, and Nook is the type that, like you said, he'll take a mile on you any minute. So I was just a little concerned, because she didn't seem to be it seems like she was convincing herself.
And she wasn't resolute. She said it. And maybe she didn't want to hurt his feelings. Maybe that's why she put her head down when she said, I don't, love you like that anymore. Maybe she didn't want to hurt his feelings, but it's just like when she put her head down and averted her eyes and stuff, I was like, are we not convinced?
Yeah, so I guess we're gonna have to watch that one and see what comes of that whole situation. Because now that y'all say that, I'm gonna have my eyes on Kesha and see what happens. So before we move on to other topic, I want to top this whole Vic situation, because Vic and Shad, they had a conversation where they were kind of arguing about him working with Alicia, and Vic was saying how he doesn't trust her. But Shad was like throwing Victor's situation in his face. I was like, Alicia, you need Alicia to help you or whatever. And so it turns out that Alicia actually does end up helping Vic. There's this judge who Alicia is kind of like, I know you have aspirations of, climbing up the ladder. You might want to consider, ruling favorably in this case if you want to do that. So it seems like Alicia got like so much pull politically or something like that, where she could make something like that happen because the judge fell in line. So I was just like, I mean, dang, this situation just went away like that. I don't know. What do y'all think about that? Because I was thinking that it would take much longer to resolve this murder situation. Like, I know that the prosecution didn't have a whole lot of maybe hardcore evidence, maybe stuff that was more circumstantial possibly. But I was just like, dang, this is like, it's literally done just like this.
Well, I mean, consider the fact that they supposedly had his DNA. That's going to be hard to defend, um, in that regard. But I honestly thought that Shaw did a solid um, with Vic. I couldn't understand why Vic was so had such a difference with Alicia helping him out, because I mean he was between a rock and a hard place. I mean, let's just say what it is, and it didn't seem like she was asking much from him. But I do understand. I mean, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, and it's probably going to be something down the road that she's going to need from him, and she's going to remind him what she did for him. But that is the game of politics, ladies and gentlemen. That's how the game is played. So you could have been a little more receptive of where it all was headed,
Yeah.
I felt that too. I was just like, he was just like, I don't need her. And Shad reminded her, oh, yes, you do.
You do.
Listen, your attorney has been
Yeah.
murked and stuff. And your back is up against the wall. And what were you going to do? Like, you being prideful.
Yeah.
And that judge, basically, she let him off on a technicality.
Yep.
Because she said that,
it was a Brady violation.
The Brady violation and stuff. That's pretty much how he got out. And that judge, what Alicia appealed to, she has political aspirations and stuff. That's what Alicia appealed to, because she was like, aren't you tired of, locking black men up? And she was like, no, but she was like, listen, it's, he's a councilman, this, that, and the other. Like, how is this gonna look?
And the question is, would she have ruled on the Brady violation had Alicia not said anything? And I would think as a judge, and see, therein lies the injustice, because as a judge, she should have, and we know she did, but she did because she was pushed to do so. But that is certainly a situation that she should have automatically drawn to. You shouldn't have had to been pushed off the rails to figure that one out.
Yeah. And did it shock y'all that Alicia wasn't surprised about Alonzo's death? Because she said as much. I was like, oh, okay. I thought that she would have been way more distraught about hearing the news, but she was just like, oh, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. And it was obvious that Rob was missing this episode. We didn't see him at all. Nut came and questioned Tiffany about his whereabouts, and she was like, oh, he's just off somewhere, like he's not here. And so I was like, well, where is Rob? Like, how is he responding to Alonzo's death? Like, that was one of the biggest things that I thought we might have seen this episode that we didn't. So maybe there's something in store for next week.
It was interesting I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it was interesting what Nook said to Tiff too, when he said to her, like, I would never put my hands on a woman and stuff. So I said, I think that was interesting to know. Like, we're starting to see the layers with Nook too. True. Like, we know that that he's a gangster and he worked for Duda and stuff, but he's more complex than that. Like, you see that he, of course, he wants to be a father. He's happy about being a father. He still has feelings for Keisha. He even apologized for what happened to Keisha and stuff, and everything. So he has layers too.
Yeah, which brings to another scenario that we brought up earlier in one of our shows, as to if someone had to take Duda out, because if Duda ever goes and does anything to that family now, it's a wrap for Duda, because I think Nook would step in and take him out. Because as you said, we are seeing those layers in Nook, and I'm glad we are too. It's really interesting development for
it was looking very much so like Shad was about to take Duda out this episode, because at the end, when Alicia rolled up in his club, she had the keys and everything. And she straight up told Duda, like, your soldiers are going to turn on you when money is no longer enough. And it's only a matter of time. And, pretty much Duda was about to, put hands on Alicia, trying to choke her up. And here comes Shad out there doing his job.
Looking like Shaft with his leather jacket.
I
Right.
remember what was it, an episode or two ago? I said if I had to be afraid of between Duda and Alicia, it would be Alicia. She would give me the
Mhm.
most fear because
Mhm.
the way she stepped in that man's place, the
Mhm.
keys, okay, and then had
Mhm.
Shad ready to put a bullet in the back of his head. If she
Mhm.
wanted Duda dead at that particular time, Duda
Mhm.
would not have known that he was dead.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
why I was like, oh, so it's another person we can add to the who might be able to kill Duda list.
Mhm.
I'm afraid of Alicia. I'm telling you right now.
She said, I have soldiers too.
Exactly.
Yep.
My
Yep.
thing is, the thing that makes me nervous though, you know, Shad is definitely understand his P's and Q's, because if you do come at
Go
Duda
ahead.
and you don't take him out, you gotta worry about him coming back at you.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
so he ain't gonna forget that Shad pulled a gun on him. So
Right.
that makes me nervous for Shad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now I want to know you guys' thoughts on Roz this episode, because she has been, sleeping with Serena, who is the lady on the show that does the sign language. And so she is basically letting Roz know, like, I want to protect you. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, well, what does Roz need protection from, number one? And how much pillow talking have they done? Like, how does she know so much about Roz in this short period of time? Roz is picking up this sign language like it just flew out of nowhere. I'm like, she just picked
He
up on
taught
this
her.
like it
He taught her.
yesterday. I mean, I know she taught her, but I was like, dang, she almost fluent.
Yeah, she is. And you see, Duda don't care. He just like, y'all have fun. Like,
Right.
I was just like, yeah, they truly have like a business relationship.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what to say about that episode. I mean, about that scene. Yeah. I just
I
don't know what to say. I'm, you know.
I want to know what's going to come of it, because what does Roz need protection from again? Like,
I think
what
that
are
was
we
a
protected?
bravado type thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more of that than Roz needing really protection from anybody other than Duda, and Duda doesn't give a hoot. So uh, it would be interesting, and we saw what Duda did. I mean, he looked at him and laughed and said, "Hey, y'all go for it, do whatever it is." So I think it was just more that pumping the chest or sticking out the chest, if you will.
Well, we're gonna have to see, because I was like, that's a interesting request. The gun. Well, something's got to come of this, so we'll see. I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Mm-hmm.
I know
I was like,
it didn't phase Duda, so
or
yeah,
maybe it should.
I got a point.
Yeah, because I mean, it seems like Roz and Serena have fallen in pretty quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and let's just say one day Duda, gets buck with Roz and something goes down, and maybe Serena feels like, I need to step in, I need to protect you. That's why I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
is that what she means? Like, is this?
Mm.
I'm just thinking about all the people that could
Yeah.
possibly,
I
you
just
know.
hope she is as thorough as she is playing the role, as with Duda, because she may look the part, but is she the part? Can she handle herself in the fashion
Mm-hmm.
she
Yeah.
portrays? So that would be the underlying question for me.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we learned about another very, very interesting relationship
Mm.
that Duda has, and it's with Professor Gardner, because up until this point, we weren't even sure if they had any what if they knew each other,
Mhm.
um, and now it turns out that they actually went to high school together, so they are very familiar with each other. And Bakari actually, talks to Professor Gardner, and Gardner checks Duda for breaking Bakari's laptop and asks him to free Bakari, to which Duda wasn't going to do that. Like, I don't even know why he thought that it was going to be that simple, but I guess it was worth a shot. But I think that I really hope that his character, the professor, I hope that he doesn't get in too deep with this situation and end up being a casualty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
I guess my other hope is that he doesn't wash his hands of Bakari, because of that circumstance as well. Because I know he didn't feel too comfortable leaving Duda's place after, Duda said what he had to say, but I was rather curious to see Duda in that uh, sort of perturbed but thoughtful. It looked as if he was might have could contemplate leaving alone because of the professor.
Well, he said a lot of flattering stuff too. Like you had a lot of potential and promise in your
Yeah.
early days too, and I don't know where you went wrong, but I guess like you have the opportunity now to let Bakari take another path and achieve his potential. So I think he was trying to appeal to him on that route. But this is Duda we talking about. Like he's cold blooded.
And plus, they have history because the way he was entertaining the professor and stuff,
Yeah.
he was kind of lighthearted.
It was.
Yeah.
And stuff. So that's what I said. I was like, there's history there. So they were kind of cool in the past or whatever.
Yeah.
I could see. I think he did. I think the professor did more good than he may appear at this particular time.
Yeah, I think the professor will still continue to try to help Bakari because, like, Bakari pleaded with him. He's like, I mean, you kind of got to help me because if not, then I'm dead either way.
True.
Right.
So, I don't know if they're going to pause this book situation or not, but I think that the professor is definitely going to do what he can to try to help that situation along. And I think that it was a good thing too that Britney spoke up this episode. Britney told Maisha and Jemma that she's been spying on Bakari for Duda and that's where the apartment money came from and whatnot. And they kind of encouraged Britney, like, you need to tell Bakari. And I agree. It's going to sound a lot better coming from her own mouth versus him finding out another way. And then that whole relationship it's going to be shattered either way. But at least if you had the guts to come and tell me, there's a possibility that we could salvage things and even maybe get a step or two ahead of Duda.
And he's already mad at her because when she came to the party, he was like, "What's she doing here?" He had an attitude already, so he already figured out that's how Duda found out about the book.
So that's gonna make a bad situation worse.
Exactly. I'm just really hoping that they can, like I said, get ahead of this thing. I'm hoping Britney would do the right thing because I mean it's foul to do that to your brother. And I don't know if she really is aware of Duda's dealings or whatever since she's been away for a while. I'm hoping that she started to see like, oh, this man is really dangerous. I'm putting my brother in a bad spot.
Right. Because she even asked the question, like, do you think he would I don't think he would hurt Bakari. And people who know Duda know he would hurt Bakari.
In a heartbeat. So that's why I'm like, she must not know him that well.
Which is interesting because she seems very street oriented, and to not know Duda's potential to me is rather naive.
But she's not from there. Remember, they were in foster care and this and the other.
But like I said, she's street oriented. So typically people who are street oriented, it doesn't matter where they land, they can pretty much get the lay of the land because of that knowledge. Because street is street, no matter where you're from.
Right.
And the fact that she took the money and didn't even, I mean, what think about that for a minute. Somebody's going to give you money to spy on your brother and you don't ask any questions. I mean, that doesn't come up to you as a little weird. That
young and naive. Yeah. And and Bakari said that she's a hustler type too. So she was trying to get the money. And then she probably was so pressed because you see she's trying to get her music out there. She probably was like, hey,
I don't care.
It's a lot of money. I'm trying to get my music out there,
Yeah, and that's because that's a sellout.
Yeah. So I don't know. I hope Britney gets her morals together and it changes her heart towards the situation. But even like music wise, it looked like, as far as her dealings with Jemma managing Maisha and managing Britney, it looks like Britney don't have competition anymore because Maisha has decided that she wants to step away from music and pursue photography instead. So I thought that was interesting, but I mean, I kind of welcome that too because Maisha is a super dope rapper and she definitely has potential to make it on the upper level. But at the same time, I do think she's young enough to explore all of her talent. She doesn't have to be a one-trick pony.
Listen, a lot of these artists are like, a jack of all trades. I remember watching an old Breakfast Club interview with Ti, and at one point, Travis Scott was signed to him, and they asked him like, what was it that drew him to Travis Scott, and he was like, he could do everything. He couldn't just rap. He could make beats. He could produce. He could make like he did all that stuff himself. So I think with Maisha, you know, this will only help her. That would be more arsenal for her.
Yeah, and she already getting paid gigs. So that's why I was like, why not?
I wish it were that easy.
Studio time.
I wish it were that easy. She made movies as a photographer.
Right.
It were that easy.
Yeah. Now I wanted to get you guys' thoughts about this gentleman who did some jail time for Damien.
Mm-hmm.
He gets out of jail. Let me just go back a little bit. He did 6 years for Damien. He robbed a corner store, and Damien was supposed to be his lookout. I guess Damien ended up getting, caught up for it, but the guy did the actual time in his place because he was like, Darnell convinced him that, Damien had all this potential and that he was really going to make something of his life. So he was like, I'll do the time for him. 6 years later, here he is getting out of jail. And he's coming to Darnell saying like, yo, I need a job. Help me find a job. And Darnell's pretty much like, I've been paying you off the whole time. I've been putting money on your books. I've been doing this, that, and the third. And here you are still asking for stuff. So I guess Darnell feels indebted to him. I mean, like, you did time for my son. I appreciate it. So I'm going to try to hook you up with a job, I guess.
I'm going to still need Darnell to stop volunteering Emmett's
right.
Work for everybody.
The only job in town.
Yeah, exactly. I really want him to employ everybody. And I'm just like, Darnell, I think he gets the hands for me this week because I'm like, you taking advantage of your son, like.
And never mind that it's a terrible idea to not only take advantage of Emmett, one son, but then to put the other son in the workplace with somebody who's hostile toward him.
I don't think that he recognized how the hostile aspects of it, but I agree with Tiffany. Look, you don't manage the store. You need to leave that to Emmett. And every time you see somebody that needs a job, you sending them over there to Emmett's place. Wrong. But the other thing I wanted to mention is, we always wonder about him, his brother, and what his background was, and now we see that he has a rap sheet too. So, I'm like, oh God, okay.
Almost had one.
I'm about to say,
he got away.
Yeah, almost had one. But I don't know, dude. You need to get over it, man. I mean, you did 6 years because you obviously were coerced into or was told to do so. You did it. Get over it, man. I mean, it's done. What's done is done. You did the crime anyway, so just get over it.
This guy's gonna be a problem. I just know when he said he was gonna make Damien's life hell, I was like, I don't know to what extent he's gonna try to do that and how far he's willing to push it. Like, how much vengeance does he really want, and how dangerous is this guy? So I was like, this just sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Well, Damien, speak up real quick because he seems like a quiet type, but speak up real quick before this gets too out of hand.
Yeah. So I'm on the watch for that situation to see how that turns out. And before we close out, I wanted to talk about 2 relationships that are, one that's possibly sprouting and one that's on the rocks. Looks like it's leading to a breakup. So first of all, with Nina and LaPortia, they are watching their scary movies and whatnot, and LaPortia's trying to like pressing Nina to give her a chance. And from the conversation that Nina had with Kesha, she was like, I guess Nina enjoys LaPortia's company, but she feels like she doesn't want to move on too fast at the same time. And Nina kind of comes to this realization that she's never focused on her own happiness. And Keisha's encouraging her to like go for it, step out there and move on from Dre. So That's one that I'm watching. Do y'all have any thoughts about that situation?
Listen, Force just got canceled. Dre will be back.
Oh man, the Chicago shows competing for cast members. I guess they bouncing between shows, so Dre will leave one show, come back to the other.
Listen,
I
I
can
think
see
she
it
probably
happening.
was never really, really gone. I think she probably, I think she was gonna come back anyway. I always thought that they were gonna reconcile, but now that we know that Force is canceled, then they can reconcile for sure.
I don't know if Dre coming back if she's gonna be coming back to what she thinks she's coming back to, because Nina might really have already closed that door and moved on.
I think she's
So
moving too fast. She needs to slow down and really get her heart straight, because this just seems like it's just a missing part, and she's picking it up because it's a rebound situation. And she really needs to, because you it's going to be hell when Drake gets back and sees this mess, man.
And aren't they still married? I think they're still married.
I haven't heard anything about an official divorce.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So I think they're separated, but I don't even think that they're legally divorced yet. So there's that.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to see. I just don't think that if Drake comes back, it's gonna be what she think it is. Now with the Marcus and Tiara situation, I gotta know where y'all stand with this one, because Marcus decided that he was going to go and watch a game with the fellas, despite Tiara's pleas for him to stay. And so, they're arguing back and forth once he gets home, and there's threats of a breakup, And so I'm like, what would you have done? Here you got your young, fine girlfriend asking you to stay in the house, and you ditching her to go watch a game with the fellas. I mean, I get having guy time, but
ain't nobody that fine. Let me say this.
They already had the situation last week where he wasn't trying to claim her. So first you're not trying to claim me.
They live together. They live together. Ladies gotta have their girl time. Guys gotta have their guy time. So I felt like, and I'm a woman, and in that instance, I felt for Marcus. I did, because I was like, let him. He can go watch the game. He's coming home to you and stuff. Like, right. It's good. It's healthy for couples to have friends and stuff and hang out and everything like that. So I thought she was doing the most.
I don't know if I seen it that same way, because if I put it in context of what happened last week with him not claiming her, I would feel a little rejected if I was Tiara. Yeah. I would feel like, okay, first you're not trying to claim me, and then you choosing your friends over me. Like, what are we doing? Like, are we just playing house for real? And you just kind of, like, I understand, I completely get guy time, but on the heels of what seemed very tumultuous last week, it seemed like, Tiara, maybe the timing is not the best.
Go ahead, Ron.
Tiara, your character's namesake, she's a bit much. Now
she's always a lot. I'll never disagree with that. She's a lot.
Let me say this: if it isn't like they talked about it first, and he already committed to some time with her, and then he abruptly just decided to go and watch the game with the fellas, that's wrong. But apparently it didn't seem that way. And you're trying to be, what type of woman are you trying to be? Are you so controlling that you think you can just say to your man at any point in time that, no, you're not going to do what you want to do, you're going to do what I want to do? See, to fall in that gap, that's a hole you don't crawl out from. So I was very glad to see Marcus step to her and say, hey, if it takes that little bit for you to step, then you step.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, a lot of men would they would cut her off behind that, like giving an ultimatum. We're talking about him going to watch the game with the fellas. That's a couple of hours, and to come home, they're under the same roof. And I get what you're saying about, in light of what she was saying and not feeling claimed and stuff. But a game, the fellas for a couple hours, come home, and I'm there, come home and be like, yeah. And I think, Yeah.
I hear y'all 100%. I just felt like he wasn't reading between the lines.
Oh, I think he read between
because
those.
she was saying something else. It wasn't about the game and going to hang out with the fellas. I think she was really feeling like
No, she wasn't. No,
here we go again.
I think he read between those lines quite well, and the fact that even when you take last week, for instance, he supposedly not claiming her. Well, he didn't have anything to claim. They're just dating. And even though she's living with him, they're not married, they're not engaged, they're just dating. And as I've said, the 48-hour rule works because you don't run into those situations with the 48-hour rule. And
somebody got on you in the comments.
Well, look, they're gonna get on me again because I'm saying 48-hour rule.
They said it's not a 48-hour rule if she's living with him.
I'm saying no. What I'm saying is before you have anyone living with you, if you're living with me, it's because you got a ring. So my thing is before you get to that point about having some chick live with you, it's the 48-hour rule. So we don't run into that situation about where I'm going and whether you like it or not.
That's what I'm saying, though. I feel like they moved way too fast in this relationship. They haven't really established what they are. They haven't established where they want to go in life. What does one see the relationship progressing to? What does the other see? It's like they just fell into it and just was winging the whole situation, which is a recipe for disaster. I see wrong on both sides, but I was just wondering in this particular situation, was Tiara pleading for him because she felt rejected and she got rejected again? And then Marcus is trying to, hang on for dear life to any sense of independence that he once had.
No, I was going to say, I was just like, I don't see it as being rejected because he's coming back to you.
Right.
Well, he is ultimately, but I think that she wants the control of the situation. I think that you're right in that and saying she wants control.
And that's the thing. Like when you do that with men sometimes, like the rubber band thing, like the more you try to control and stuff with men, the more they'll push away. So I was just like,
you're putting a gun to the relationship. I mean, you're holding him hostage for what? He's only going for 2 hours and he's coming back to you. It's not like he even said, I'll be home at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. He said, I'm going to watch the game. I'm coming back and we can do whatever. And you're saying, no, you should stay here with me because I said so. Girl, let me say,
right. a lot of men would have an issue with that.
Get your night clothes, get your slippers, and bounce.
She would have won more points with him had she been like, okay, babe, have fun. I'll be back, and then, and she still would have got what she wanted. She would have got more points from him had she carried it that way.
Or even if she said something to the effect, oh, I thought we were going to, we could stay home and spend some quiet time together. I didn't realize you were going out with the boys, but I guess if that's what you want to do, hey, I'll be here when you get back. Something to that effect. Anything like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, Tiara. Girlfriend was.
I thought so too, because I felt like I was like, "How we get here with the argument and talk about breaking up?" It felt like it felt like
irrational.
It felt like it was forced. It felt like it felt like she started an argument when it didn't have to be one. Absolutely. I was like, this didn't really have to be an argument.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. You guys in the comment section, give us your thoughts on that whole situation. Whose side do you feel? I mean, does Tiara have a case? Marcus definitely has a case. Do you feel like he did the right thing though? Let us know.
And leave my 48-hour rule alone. I'm trying to tell you. It works.
One more relationship I forgot to mention. Quincy, the campaign manager, stepping out on his boo. I was like, uh-oh.
Quincy tripping.
He's tripping.
But his boo is tripping because, and I'm not justifying what Quincy did, but his boo trying to justify the interaction with Duda. Knowing that Duda is dangerous. Oh, well, he's been good to me. Yeah, it comes at a price.
Right.
Look, I got a class on how to break up with people. Y'all want to take it? Holler at me. Because I'm going to tell you, look, you know what? If You know, if your dude is going over there messing with Duda, I got you. You need to leave him alone because that's endangering you. You know, so but skipping out on him while he's out of town, I don't. That's a problem.
Right.
You
Just
know,
cut it off.
it's because
Right.
cut that thing off. But if y'all need any tips on how to do it, come to me. I got a bag full of them. I'm trying to tell you, I know how to get this done.
And clearly, dude knew about his boo too, because he was like, "How are you and such doing?" So I'm like, "Oh, so you know."
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I'm giving both of them the hands, Quincy and the guy he cheated with. So that brings us to this segment: the who can get the hands. Those are my two nominations. Tiffany, I think you already gave who can get the hands to. Who did you give it to? You said something earlier.
Darnell.
That's who it was.
For always giving up the pushing folks on Emmett and telling them to hire the job first lady too, for showing up to the Halloween party. That's
right. All the time. I'm always down with giving it to Zeke. And
did we say Tiara?
You giving Tiara the hand?
Yeah, Tiara. I'm sorry. I'm with you, Ron.
Okay.
I'm with you, Ron. Tiara.
She gets the hand and almost got the foot. So yes, she gets it.
She might be getting the boot next week. We'll see.
It sounds like she got the boot that night. I mean,
if I'm not mistaken, a foot is inside a boot. So give it to her.
All right. Well, we'll see then. Nominations for the game ball. I was going to say Professor Gardner for trying to release Bakari from Duda. He put a good effort. Wasn't good enough though.
Wasn't good enough. I say Jake for putting some light under Vic, over Vic rather, while he was suffering from his mental exploits. So I'd say Jake.
Okay, I'm not mad at it.
I'm not mad at it. Even though he needs to stay away from the first lady. I'm like, Jake.
Well, okay. Honorable mention because he is doing it.
But he did do a good thing with Trig, Vic,
Yeah.
I think who else? Should we give it to Alicia for getting Vic off?
Nah.
I feel like she got something up her sleeve.
Yeah.
Right. It's a quick pro quo. I mean, there's a little more to it than that.
Yeah, maybe an honorable mention at most.
Okay.
So
wait a minute. I gotta give a judge the hands. That's who it is. this witch, okay?
Not a witch.
He's a witch. I mean, you had to be coerced into doing justice. Okay. You get the hand.
Okay. Well, I'm not mad at that either. Okay. If you guys don't have anything else to add, I think we'll go ahead and close out. Tiff, did you have something?
I just was going to say that the episode was directed by Quincy, Linnea Gosfeld, and DeAndre, and we had them on the show. We interviewed them, so shout out to them. Great job on the episode.
Absolutely. Please go and look in our interview tab and check out their the interview we did with them. That was a really good one. They had a lot of good commentary about how they work together and how they process things as a married couple. It's like I couldn't do it with my husband, but they have a great dynamic. So check that out. And thank you again for watching the Spot Real Talk and watching this recap. Please drop down in the comment section. Give us your thoughts on this episode as well as predictions for any future episodes. We also would like to hear your opinion on some of the topics we discussed. Give us your thoughts on some of these controversial topics here, and let's see where we land. Also, make sure you subscribe to our channel, like the video, and click that notification bell. We are also on all major social media platforms at The Spot Real Talk, so give us a follow there. And tell your friends and family to come and join The Spot as well. Spread the word far and wide that we are out here putting out great content and help us to continue to grow. Any last words? Nope. All right. Well, on that note, we are going to call it a night. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Right.
She said we better off as best friends. Who was the best friend? Can you let me know what it means?